Howdy folks, welcome back to my World of Tanks replays with a Mighty Jingles. Today we're in the garage with the Marder 2, the German Tier 3 tank destroyer. Widely considered to be completely overpowered, despite it getting nerfed after nerf after nerf in every single patch that I can ever remember as long as I've been playing this game. They keep trying to kill the Marder and it just keeps bouncing back. I mean, it did get hit pretty heavily with the nerf bat in patch 7.5, but it gets hit with the nerf bat in every patch. In 7.5, I think, I can't remember the exact features, but they gave it an extra 5 health. I think they increased its top speed by 2 kilometers per hour. They increased the dispersion of the aiming circle after firing by 30%. They increased the reload time on the 76mm gun by half a second. They increased the aiming time on the 76mm gun by half a second. They decreased the traverse of the tracks. They lowered the ground resistance of the suspension, so it performs worse off-road than it did previously. I mean, it really did get a lot of fairly substantial nerfs in patch 7.5. And a lot of that was to do with the fact that it's no longer having to compete against Tier 6 enemies because of the rebalanced matchmaker, and this happened to a wide variety of the lower tier vehicles, but the Marder in particular got a pretty heavy battering with the nerf bat. But you know what, the Marder just doesn't care. It's still really good, and a lot of that comes down to the people who play Marders. People have been playing Marders for a while, like myself. I mean, we'll have a look at my service record and the thing. It's right there at the top of the list. I've played more games in this thing than anything else. 324 games, 220 victories, 68% win ratio. And you can do that in a lower tier vehicle, if it's any good, and if you're really good. Because you can influence the outcome of the battle so much more in lower tiers than you can in higher tiers. It's not that you can't influence the outcome in a higher tier game, but everything has, I mean, you don't get many one-shot kills in a higher tier game. You'll get them in the Marder, because tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 vehicles and tier 2 vehicles, they don't have a lot of health. They don't have a lot of armour. They're very fast-paced games, and somebody who knows what they're doing in a good machine with a good crew can make a big difference in a lower tier, more so than they can in a higher tier game. The Marder for me has always been one of those machines. 324 games and 530 kills. There's something about this machine that just clicks with me, and no matter how much they try and nerf it, they can't put it down. Maximum experience per battle. Now remember, this is a tier 3 machine. 1866. Average XP per battle 537. And again, remember, tier 3. We're not talking about tier 5, 6, 7. This is a tier 3 machine. Those are amazing stats. And here's one that's particularly impressive. Now, bearing in mind that this thing has, how much armour? 30mm of armour at the front on the gun shield, at the most. And it only has 165 hit points. I have a 6 battle invincible streak in this thing, and to get invincible, survive 5 or more battles in a row without taking any damage. Well, I've managed 6 games in a row without taking a scratch in this thing, and that just tells you how incredibly sneaky this thing is. It's incredibly well camouflaged. If you've got a good camo skill in this thing with a camo net and you don't move, it is practically invisible until it fires. I just love this machine. It's so good. But, you know, let's have a look at the stats. As we said, it only has 165 hit points. It's so easy to kill. I mean, people say the Marder is overpowered. Well, just shoot it. It only has 165 health. Its armour isn't going to stop anything. It's just as vulnerable as anything else in its tier, if not more so. You look at the AMX-40. It's got double the armour this thing has. And it's all sloped. It's very hard to kill. But nobody complains about the AMX-40 being overpowered. Moving on, engine, not very powerful, only 160 horsepower, but hey, this thing only weighs 12 tons at the most. And that's good enough for it to hit 40 kilometers per hour going downhill, more likely 30-35 kilometers per hour on the flat on a road. Obviously, the suspension was nerfed in 7.5. It doesn't travel very well off-road anymore. I mean, it never did in the first place, but it's a little bit worse now. The traverse speed isn't bad, 38 degrees. It's not bad at all. It does turn quite well. Armour, well, useless. Absolutely useless. 30 millimeters at the front, and that's pretty much just the gun shield up here. 15 at the sides, 15 at the rear. Open top vehicle, highly vulnerable to high explosive. Artillery loves shooting at Marders if it can find them. The gun traverse. Now this is one of the really good things about the Marder. First of all, it turns that gun around very, very quickly. 44 degrees per second gun traverse. And I keep going on about this, one of the stats that isn't visible from within the garage, from looking at the actual stats of the machine, is the gun traverse. And the Marder's gun traverse is more, I think it's almost exactly a 90-degree cone. You can turn that gun a long way to the left and right without having to move the hull, because as soon as you move the hull, you have to go into the whole aiming time again. Now, oh yeah, I nearly forgot, this thing used to have a 400, possibly a 402 meter view range, but it was definitely 400 or higher, and that just got nerfed down to 360 meters. So, but 360 meters at tier 3 is still pretty good. Signal range, useless. Again, remember, we are at tier 3, 310 meter signal range. If you're on a larger map like El Haluf and you're at one side of the map, you will probably lose contact with friendly tanks on the other side of the map, and you will not be able to see their targets. So those are kind of the limitations of it, but what is it about the Marder that makes it so good? And it has pretty much always been, there's your selection of guns. There's the stock gun, the 5cm. You'll want to get through that as quickly as possible. It is appallingly bad, although it's kind of accurate, and it does have a fast aiming time. But the damage and the penetration sucks. So the next gun upgrade you get is the 75 Millimeter Pak 40. It's not a terrible gun. Penetration is better. The damage is pretty good, but it loses accuracy and aiming time. But this is the one you want. The 76 Millimeter Pak 36. Captured Russian gun from the early stages of Operation Barbarossa. German army captured thousands of these guns. Very good 76mm anti-tank guns. And they stuck them on the chassis of obsolete Panzers, and the Marder II was born. And it is a fantastically good gun. They keep nerfing it patch after patch after patch, but they cannot kill this gun. It is still really, really good. Very good rate of fire, 12.5 rounds per minute. 118mm of penetration, 125 average damage. Now that is better than the average damage of most of the tier 5 medium tanks, and this is a tier 3 tank destroyer. The accuracy keeps getting hit with a nerf bat. The accuracy is not good, and yet it still seems to hit what you shoot at. Certainly at medium range. At long range, it might take a few shots to hit him. The aiming time is not great. That also got nerfed in patch 7.5. So the whole vehicle just keeps getting nerfed every patch, but it's still an incredible, fun little machine. Now, on my Marder, I have an enhanced gun laying drive, because the aiming time really, really does suck. I have a camo net because it is a very, very stealthy little vehicle, and because it has such good gun traverse, you tend to not have to move the hull. If you can get yourself into a good position with a good field of view, you can pretty much stay in position and never lose your camo bonus. And if that's the case, if you ain't moving, then a camouflage net is a great idea on this thing. Because it is so vulnerable, 165 health, 30mm of armour, you can and will get one-shotted by tier 5 vehicles if they see you and they shoot at you. So not getting shot at is a very, very good idea. More so in this than just about any other kind of thing that you're going to run into on the battlefield in it. And again, because it can stay completely still, hiding in cover and just use that really, really good gun traverse to pick its targets out, makes sense to give it a pair of binocular telescopes as well. But, you know, you could fit... No, you cannot fit a tack gun rammer on this thing. Okay, that answers that question. And that is pretty much all you would really want to fit to it in that case. Perhaps a spall liner, but spall liners are crap. It's not going to save you from getting killed by artillery, and it certainly ain't going to save you from getting killed by getting rammed. So those, to me, are really pretty much the only choices: gun lane drive, camo net, and binoculars. Now, as for crew skills, I did mess around with the crew skills. They were just camo, camo, and camo until I think it was patch 7.2 when the new crew skills were introduced. Sixth sense. Indispensable on this thing. If you get spotted, you get killed. And if you get spotted, you want to know about it so you can be somewhere else. And recon. Because again, seeing them first and killing them before they get near you is how this thing survives. So that's what I've gone for on the commander. On the gunner, I've gone with Deadeye as my first perk, because at 100% perks become effective, and that increases the chance to cause critical damage, knock out modules, knock out crew, and this is always a good thing. Second skill, camouflage. And with the driver, I've gone with camouflage as his first skill, because not being seen in this thing is the key to success. And off-road driving, because, well, I mean, the drivers get a lot of decent skills. Smooth ride, you never fire this thing when you're on the move. Controlled impact, ramming damage, if something's close enough to ram you, you've failed in this thing. Clutch braking, it's not a terrible one to go for, but it does have very, very good traverse anyway, so I skipped it, and I went with off-road driving, purely for those occasions when, you know, you're not in Himmelsdorf, which seemed quite logical. So, well, everybody's on the forums moaning about how the Marder is dead in patch 7.5. Is it though? Is it really? I don't think so. Well, here it is, and this is literally the very first game I started playing straight after I did the garage intro that you've all just watched. Now this is the first match, and in fact it's the only match I've played in the Marder 2 since patch 7.5 came out. So what you see is exactly what you get. I've also downloaded a few new mods. You can probably notice that my crosshairs look slightly different. Unfortunately, as always, the reload timer doesn't work in replays. But the reload is... you know, I can't remember. It's about 4.7 seconds. Yeah, that sounds about right. So here we go. It's a tier 3 game, so thank you, Mr. Matchmaking. And look at the aiming time of that 76mm gun. That's been nerfed hard. But one thing that hasn't changed, here we go. No, that was a hit. Now remember, I've got Deadeye here. Boom. And that's Sixth Sense going off. It's a trap. Come on. Okay, I'm not sticking around. I got one good shot into him. One that caused a crit. Might have killed his driver. I'm not going to stick around and let him hit me a fourth time. That would just be silly. So I back off, and our M2 light tank kills him. So no kills yet, but we took most of the health of that M3. And most of the health of that 38H735F. Now technically this gun has .43 accuracy, but check out the aiming circle, how small it gets.
Looks like that one went right through.
Right through the turret of that Panzer II. Now you are going to find that it does deviate, and you will see shots sailing off to the bottom left, the bottom right, the top right, whatever of the aiming circle, but it is pretty consistent. You just need to wait for it to aim. Been spotted. Not anymore. See that D2? I figure a Panzer IIIA and an M2 light tank can handle him. So I go elsewhere. and I'm completely wrong. They can't handle him. T-46 in trouble here. Wait.
Enemy is hit.
Blew his tracks off. Now I have you now.
Enemy armor is damaged.
You don't often find tier 3 vehicles carrying repair kits.
Enemy armor is destroyed.
So there goes a T-82. 4 kills. Which is nice. Oh, hello. Panzer 3A. Now I know just how inaccurate that Panzer 3A gun is. And I'm taking a chance here, but it's a calculated risk.
Punched right through their armor.
There you go. He missed. And now he's moving, and there ain't no way he's going to hit me when he's moving.
Penetration. One of our tracks is damaged.
Oh, well.
Enemy
Oh,
vehicle
the lucky
knocked down.
bastard. He did hit me, but my tracks took it. Alright. Happy with that. And there's 5 kills. And then I look at the map and I realise there's a D2 who's somehow managed to kill both of those tanks that had him cornered and is now threatening our artillery. But we are winning 11-5, but that D2 is probably the only real threat we have left. So, alright, somebody has to go and kill him. Fair enough, I'll do it. Got an M2 medium tank and a Panzerjäger, both running away from him instead of attacking him. And the aiming time nerf really does hurt this thing, but as long as he's not looking at you... Oh, he's seen me now.
They're knocked out.
As long as you get the first shot in this thing, you're generally going to win. And we seem to have got Top Gun. So they said removing the 107mm gun from the Su-85 had killed it dead. They were wrong. They said that all the cumulative nerfs to the Marder 2 had killed it dead, and they were wrong there too. There's nothing wrong with the Marder. It's not as good as it used to be, but it's still fantastic. So yeah, 7 kills, 2 damaged, only 1 detected. Well, that's quite surprising actually. Well, actually it isn't. If this had been a map like Steppes, I have very good view range. I would probably have detected a few more. But because it's all direct line of sight down roads and alleys and so on and so forth, and because I never go first in this thing, other tanks were getting the detections. And that's understandable. That's highly unusual. Took 4 hits and survived, but it was only a tier 2 light tank. And its gun didn't do a lot of damage. So certainly in this kind of game, you can afford to take a hit or 2, but it's better not to. And if this was a tier 4 or 5 game, and somebody's shooting at you, don't take the risk. Move, be somewhere else. And despite that .43 accuracy, look at that, 16 fired, 15 hit the target. More importantly, this is a tier 3 vehicle. And that's 1200 credit, experience and 15,000 credits. And even though we're reduced to 32% health, 567 credit repairs. If you can do well in this thing, and it is a good machine, there is no reason why you shouldn't do well in it, you will reap the XP and the credits. It's a fantastic machine. I am never selling it. I think this is one of the best machines in the game, and it's one of my all-time favourites. In fact, it was my all-time favourite until I got my hands on my Lorraine. So once again, that was the Marder 2, just proving that no matter how much they hit it with a nerf bat, they cannot kill this tank destroyer. Catch you next time.